welcome back to Run the Atlas. Today I'm talking about America's last frontier, Juneau, Alaska, the capital of Alaska, one of the most wild and unusual cities that I've ever traveled to. I was there about 6 months ago. It's one of the most memorable places I've visited in the US, and it took me so long to get here. So let's talk about the things you need to know before visiting Juneau, Alaska. Before we begin, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe down below so that you don't miss any of our videos. We're coming up on the summer season, and that is Juneau's most popular time for tourism. This city sees over 1 million visitors per year, most of which visit via cruise ship, but you can travel here as an independent traveler and not part of the cruise ship. In fact, that's how I did it, and I learned many things. This is information that I discovered via my research and from talking to locals. So one of the most unique features about Juneau is that there are no roads that connect Juneau to the rest of Alaska. It is the only capital city in the United States that is not accessible via roads. So the only way to get here is by boat or plane. So you'll be traveling along what's called the Marine Highway to get here. And we traveled here via an Alaska Airlines flight. If you're on this flight, be sure you grab a window seat. When it comes to airplane scenery, this is one of the most jaw-dropping views I have ever seen. It is almost like looking at a tropical landscape such as Hawaii, but with a Nordic atmosphere. And you'll just see like waterfalls pouring down these bright green mountains with snow caps. They actually call it flight seeing because it is so gorgeous that it's almost worth taking an airplane just to view Juneau from up above. So the reason why Juneau is not connected to the rest of Alaska is because the landscapes are extremely rugged. So that brings me to my next point, is the landscapes. It looks like a national park, and it's all within access to the downtown. So you can take a footpath from the downtown and ascend into these beautiful mountains and get some national park quality views. The waterfalls here, the rapids, the glaciers, the bald eagles, they have more than 20,000 bald eagles. So you're guaranteed to see one during your trip. There's fjords, rainforests. So if you take one excursion while you're here, I recommend the Tracy Arm Fjord. The boat will pick you up right in the downtown, and you'll pass through the Marine Highway to get to a glacier. The ice here is thousands of years old, and you can see it chipping away. The water is like the color of blue Gatorade. You'll see bald eagles. We saw bears. Oh my God, it's a bear! Wow! Our boat got way up close to some of the waterfalls. It was like being right underneath them. You could feel the mist. It was such a unique experience, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're not on a cruise ship. Getting out on the water is one of the best ways to enjoy Juneau. Now let's talk about weather. So Juneau is a little bit hard to plan around weather because it can be very changeable, and it's best to visit in July or the summer months. In the summer, you'll see very long days. Some places in the downtown will close around 9, but the daylight extends out until 10 and beyond. You'll walk around and it'll feel like the afternoon, but it's actually time to go to bed. Also, we were here during 4th of July, so a very unique thing is that 4th of July fireworks happen here on July 3rd around midnight because it's not dark enough on the 4th of July for the fireworks to go off. In fact, if they did have them on the 4th of July, they would need to wait until technically the 5th of July in order to set off fireworks. Now, because of all that daylight sun, you'll see large vegetables. They have a lot of vegetable garden competitions, growing some of the largest zucchini and pumpkins here because there is so much sunlight that vegetables can get to an extremely unusual size here. This is one of the best places to visit the midnight sun. On the flip side, if you're here during the winter time, a lot of months the sun will only come out for a couple hours per day. So be prepared for that if you are here during the winter time. One of the things that I really liked about Juneau is that it's an extremely walkable downtown. You can walk to pretty much anything from downtown and you don't need a car. However, you do need one to get to the airport, or at least a taxi. And the taxi will roughly cost you about $25 to get from the downtown to the airport. Rental cars are pretty rare here, at least when we visited. If you do want a rent-a-car, be sure to arrange in advance. Hiking is one of my favorite things to do in this area. The trails are extraordinary. They're well paved and really well marked. The reason why these trails are so well paved is they were actually paid for by the cruise ships. So Juneau has 130 miles of trails. There's something about the lighting here. Yeah. It's very warm. If you do one thing on your trip to Juneau, I recommend the Mount Roberts Tramway. This ascends 2,000 feet high above the city of Juneau in 6 minutes. And from the top, the views are extraordinary. You can see the entire Marine Highway. You can see mountains upon mountains as far as the horizon. And if you're visiting here during summertime, you'll see really beautiful wildflowers. I feel like an eagle right now. Lodging can be pretty scarce here in Juneau. There are only a couple hotels and chains. We noticed a 4 Points Marriott, and we ended up staying at the Baranoff Hotel in downtown. And hotels can range around $200 a night, at least while we were staying. So be sure to book in advance for your lodging. One of my favorite topics is food, and Juneau has some of the best variety I've ever seen. There is almost one of everything in this city. There's everything from pho to Russian dumplings, reindeer corn dogs, king crab, some of the best seafood I've ever had. A lot of it is wild caught. Be sure to check out the king crab at Tracy's. It's an iconic place right along the waterfront. Be sure to check out the Hangar Tavern, the Rookery Cafe for coffee, some of the best avocado toast I've ever had. If you're looking for something upscale, try Salt, and they have delicious halibut and wine. And the food here is costly, so be prepared for that. It's kind of like Hawaii prices for food here. Let's talk about the city of Juneau and the culture and the vibe of the city. There are 32,000 people living here in Juneau. A lot of people come here as seasonal workers working in tourism, and they end up staying. So they come from all over the United States usually. A lot of the people also work in public administration because the capital is here. As you're walking around the downtown, you'll come across some very nondescript buildings, and it happens to be the Capitol building. It's not very glitzy or glamorous. It doesn't have a dome on top or anything like that. There's not a lot of creature comforts here. There's not a lot of chain stores. You'll notice a McDonald's and a Subway and a very small Costco. But beyond that, there's not a lot of the normal stuff that you see in some of the big cities. In terms of the local people, we noticed that a lot of them knew each other. So we would go to bars and people kind of knew each other. One of our tour guides, everyone seemed to recognize him and they were waving at him. They knew his name. And that's something that I've never experienced in any other capital city. One of the things that I really liked about the city is the colorful houses. It reminded me a little bit of Reykjavik, Iceland, because the houses came in almost every color of the rainbow, from purple to green to yellow. The color matches the house paint. And there was so much individuality and charm, and I just thought that was so cool. Just walking around, I wanted to film all of the houses because they were just so beautiful. It's also not a very luxurious city, so it's a very come-as-you-are vibe. It's more outdoorsy, more rugged. The local people are very into hunting, catching their own food. They really like to do bonfires at the beach and kind of casual activities with friends. So they have beaches here, and they're right here in the sandy areas, and people have bonfires on the beach. That's a really popular thing for locals. The bars and distilleries are really popular here too. The Alaska Brewing Company, shout out to them. They have some of the best beer. So it is cool to have this kind of small town, youthful feel to the city. Our guide was saying that the population here tends to be kind of transient because a lot of it is dependent upon tourist work and seasonal work. He was saying you don't actually get inaugurated or accepted as a local until after you pass the harsh, dark winter months. And also because of that winter season, it doesn't attract as many retirees as other cities. But many of these people are working on cruise ships or working in the tourist industry. Juneau is one of those places where everywhere you look, it looks like it could be a postcard. You could blindly take a photo of pretty much anything and you could have an award-winning photo. I saw bald eagles just perched upon snow-capped glaciers. I was sitting in the downtown enjoying crab bisque at Tracy's and just watching the bald eagles soaring as common as seagulls. And it was just out of this world. I hope that you put this at the top of your bucket list and be sure to visit very soon. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe down below and let us know what city you'd like us to cover next. See you next time.